This is an extract from the Leader Coronavirus Daily podcast by the Evening Standard and hosted by me, David Marsland. To hear the whole thing, search for it on your podcast provider.
People need to know that although hardship lies ahead, no one will be left without hope.
A bold beginning to the Chancellor's summer economic update, and he followed it with a series of bold announcements. Some had been widely trailed. Furlough we knew would be coming to an end in October. Rishi Sunak confirmed companies will be paid a £1,000 bonus for each worker brought back. There's help for young people, including a kickstart scheme that will pay firms to hire 16 to 24-year-olds. The headlines, though, go to a VAT cut for hospitality and tourism, down from 20 to 5%, a temporary reduction of stamp duty, no charge on transactions below £500,000, and the one everyone's talking about, up to £10 per head off at restaurants, cafes and pubs. That last one was a surprise. The Chancellor clearly relished delivering it, but our editorial column's warning it's the unpredictable that could derail all of Mr Sunak's work.
There's one thing you need to know about the Chancellor's big moment today. It's not really a big moment. Don't blame Rishi Sunak for that. He's been working flat out for weeks with his officials as they battle to stop unemployment soaring and the economy crashing. But in a month's time, even MPs will struggle to remember half of what he has just announced. The big things from the government are already happening. Now we need confidence in the real economy. It's the things which Mr Sunak can't control. Maybe a second wave of coronavirus in Britain, worsening US-China relations, an EU trade deal, or the rapid success of a vaccine, which will do most to shape what happens next. It's right to have a plan for jobs, but Mr Sunak knows it will take more than that.
Joining me now are the Evening Standard City correspondent Mark Shapland and homes and property journalist Prudence Ivy. Mark, starting with you, this discount at restaurants is getting people excited. I'd expect the hospitality sector's pretty pleased with that one.
Yeah, it's an excellent idea and is definitely a boost for restaurant chains. Restaurants such as Nando's, Pizza Express, in that mid-tier where people usually spend maybe £30 to £60 and take their family.
And the hospitality and tourism industries are going to be cheering this VAT cut, aren't they? That's a big cut from 20 to 5%, isn't it?
Yeah, and it came as a bit of a surprise, actually, because the government's not raising too much tax at the moment. Traditionally, the government gets tax from corporations and individuals, but obviously a lot of individuals have been furloughed at the moment, while corporations are also not making much profit. So it is a surprise that he went for VAT, but it definitely will be a boost.
Prudence, the Chancellor is clearly trying to get people out of their houses. Do you think he's done enough to get people buying houses?
Well, it's an interesting one because obviously for first-time buyers, this hasn't done much to help them with their deposit. And one of the big things, particularly in London, is the deposit, and we've lost high loan-to-value mortgages from the market at the moment. So you're looking at needing to stump up a 20% deposit. So for the sake of argument, on a £400,000 property, that's £80,000 you need to find. So even a saving of what would have been £5,000 previously, stamp duty on that property, that's not going to help you between £20,000, which would have been your 5% deposit, and £80,000, which will be your 20% deposit. There's also a question about whether or not it will push up house prices, whether sellers are going to be thinking, okay, well, people have got an extra £15,000 to spend, maybe I could put that on my house price. And it also, for first-time buyers, again, removes the advantage they previously had, where they weren't paying any stamp duty up to £300,000. It's now levelled it out so that they're now competing with investors and second home buyers as well, all of whom will have the same minimum threshold of £500,000.
But Prudence, is there a market there at all for people ready to buy?
So before coronavirus hit, we were experiencing the Boris bounce in the property market, so-called. And so we do have a lot of people who were looking to buy, who were ready to buy, who had all their ducks in a row for spring. So if they still have jobs, they still have their deposit, they're still raring to go, then yes, there is a market there. And people over lockdown will have been experiencing their homes differently. And a lot of people, evidence does seem to suggest, are looking to change their lives and their lifestyles somewhat. So there is a potential market there.
Mark, of course, all of this will be for naught if people don't have the confidence to spend. And for that, they need to know that they're going to have a job. And that's something that the Chancellor tried to address today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's made a big statement today, actually. He's offered firms £1,000 to keep furloughed workers on. That's £1,000 each if they keep them on for 3 months. The policy, if it were taken up by every company for every worker, which obviously won't happen, but if that does happen, the policy will cost £9 billion.
That's a lot of money, Mark. Do we know what the total bill will be for the Chancellor's measures today?
So the total cost of all the measures is 30 billion, which if you put on top of the furlough scheme, which I think the rough figure is 100 billion, then all the government bailouts so far, the number is getting very high.
And where is all that money coming from?
Yeah, it is hard to know. I mean, at some point, there may have to be tax rises somewhere else, or the dreaded word austerity. But it is important to remember also that some of the money is coming from the Bank of England and the markets. So it's not all coming straight out of the Treasury.
Search for the Leader Coronavirus Daily on any podcast provider to hear more from the podcast.